Hi everyone, welcome to the channel, welcome back. If you are a subscriber or long-time viewer, thank you. If you are new, welcome. Please consider subscribing if you like this video and my content. I typically produce content around NeoVim, command line, Kubernetes, and so on. So today I want to talk to you about 10 CLI tools that made the biggest impact on my terminal-based workflow. There is a blog that is a companion to this video, and I will link it in the video description. But otherwise, let's start. So I've divided all the tools into 4 sections. So we have a section for enhancing terminal experience and navigation, another section focusing on development workflow, task and project management, and finally organizing information and getting help. Those tools and those sections are specific to me. That's how I like thinking about the tools I use, but you might have different sections and you might have different tools. If you see a tool that you like and I'm not talking about and you think it's really cool, please leave a comment in the video description. It's going to be really cool to learn about it. So the first section, I open it up with fzf, and I'll show you a few examples how I use fzf and why I think it's absolutely amazing. So fzf is a fuzzy finder, meaning that it can find text anywhere, and kind of like, it's not really a regex, but you just start typing something and it will match to best to its ability any text. So that's kind of the very intro to it, and let's see it in action, how it works. So here is one function that I like to use to kill all the processes or the selected process using fzf. So let me open a pane right here at the bottom, and we can say pkill, and then when I type it, you can see there's a window that lets me choose what process I want to kill. So let's say I have a Kubernetes running here, and I could just type enter and essentially kill the whole process. So that's one thing that is very useful. Another thing that I use fzf for is opening files. I typically don't open files with something like vim and tab for showing all the files, but rather I use a key binding that I set up where fzf is part of, Control F, and you can see at the bottom here, there's this little window where I can select a file. I can also start typing intro, for example. Let me go one more time, back intro, and it will open the file. This command is a little bit more enhanced in my case. I can open multiple files and so on, but the basic idea applies. You can open files and fuzzy find files and open them. There's plenty more of examples. I will leave a link to my dotfiles, and I have a dedicated functions, zsh functions file where I store all my small functions. I also have a folder dedicated for scripts. So fzf is really amazing. If you script, if you write your own functions, you can use fzf, wrap it around your functionality, and you can essentially present any search result in this kind of nice way. Another one that is really useful is bpytop. There is a new version of this tool, also bpy++, I believe, and it's all about resource monitor. So I have it bound to my in my tmux conf to Alt-B, and when I hit it, you can see it starts, and then I can see various processes running, how much memory and CPU they take, what's happening with the disk, and so on and so forth. This is all interactive. I can kill the process, I can terminate it, and get more information about it. It's really configurable. So very nice resource monitor and process monitor in one. tmux, of course, without it, I wouldn't know how to work. It's very integrated into my workflow. One interesting thing with tmux that I use all the time is a small script that is similar to the one you see on the screen. It's a little bit larger in my functions files, that enables me to open any folder in a new session. So let's see how it looks. I have it bound to Alt-X. When I hit it, you can see I have my current folder, and let's say I want to open my .files. So I just type .files, hit enter, and you can see at the bottom here, it opened up a new tmux session named after the folder and the branch. So that's really useful, and I can navigate between various sessions like this. So tmux is indispensable. There are alternatives to tmux like screen, and I think Western also has built-in tiling manager, but I use tmux, I like it, and that works for me. So another section that we are starting is development workflow. For development workflow, one of my favorite tools is lazygit, and I can actually show it to you right now. Again, I have it bound to Alt-L in my tmux.conf, and here you can see it essentially shows us the repository we are currently on, which is my repository for YouTube videos and shorts and so on. I can have here, I can commit, I can stage, unstage, I can create a branch, I can perform any action I want from this little TUI, and it's really, really useful. I like it a lot, and I have it already in my muscle memory. Definitely an interesting idea if you use Git a lot. Another one is GitHub CLI. I work with GitHub a lot. If you do, I think working directly with the CLI is really, really useful. And I'm going to show you one of the automations I have using GitHub CLI. But you can create gists, create repositories, push, pull, work with issues, PRs. It's quite versatile. So let's open SidePaint this time. And I have this function repo. When I type it and hit enter, it gives me again using fzf, remember, and I can select a repository that I want to go into. Let's say I want to select Flowwise. When I hit enter, it does a few things. It fetches remote, it opens this in a new session, and I also can do one fetch, which kind of shows me in preview. You've seen this earlier, but it was a little bit too small. It shows me information about the repository and what's happening at a glance. And I can close the session here. And this is another session that I use for listening to music. So I can swap back to our presentation, close this guy. So GitHub CLI, if you use GitHub, really highly recommend, and you can integrate it with all kinds of scripts. Another one is entr. Entr or entr is a command that allows you to run anything when a content of a file changes. Typically you use entr by piping to it from another command, like in this example I'm using find and pipe to enter and execute arbitrary command here. An alternative to this command is watch exec, and this is really cool if your development environment already has a server that hot reloads something. This is really very similar, but it's kind of do-it-yourself hot reload. I'm not going to show you an example with this, but it's self-explanatory. You can observe a file or directory and then execute any command here. Another one is just. Just is kind of like a makefile, but it's specifically designed to orchestrate commands. So let's use the function that we've seen previously for jumping to a folder. So Alt-X, and I have this folder called UXP setup, and inside this folder I have just file. And this just file is quite big. If you don't know what it does, don't worry, we're not going to go through it, but I want to show you that it contains various targets or recipes similar to makefile that can help you orchestrate and run various scripts. So if we close this and I just type just, you can see it contains all the recipes. In this case, it's a Kubernetes related setup where I can install kind cluster, set up AWS and all kinds of stuff, crossplane related and so on. But this is really, really useful if you want to orchestrate a lot of commands. Taskwarrior, I use Taskwarrior all the time. Mostly I consume it through Taskwarrior TUI, which is a nice interface to use Taskwarrior with. I'll make a dedicated video about Taskwarrior because I have it very deeply integrated with things like projects, NeoVim, tmux, and so on. I'm not going to show you it though, because I have my personal tasks and issues there, but I wanted to mention it that if you need to manage projects and tasks from the terminal, taskwarrior is really cool. tldr, it's a very nifty little program that helps you to get a real quick overview of a command and its possible subcommands. So for example, I can drop in here and say tldr, and let's say tldr for man. I can see, all right, so very short description, manual pages, and then I have a few ideas or example use cases how I can use man to achieve various results. So whenever I'm stuck and I don't know the exact syntax of something, I can quickly type tldr, and I have a few ideas that get me started. So it's a little bit like a shorter manual pages. All right, another one, this one is really cool. It's called pet. Pet is a command line snippet manager. Let me actually show it to you. Pet snippets. So this is a repository where I have pet snippets, and you can see it's very simple. It just has a toml file with pet snippets. So if we go to this toml file, you can see this is just a toml, and it has this description, what the command is about, the command itself, and the output. And it kind of goes on like that for various commands. So how do we use it? I have it bound to a shortcut, but so Control S in my case, and it displays the list of all commands. And for example, you can see, check what listens to on a specific port. If I don't remember all the netstat toggle flags, I just can do this like that. So I can search for something like git history, for example, and when I hit enter, it shows me, oh, I can search git log for history, and maybe here, let's search for Lua, and it can show me history. So if I don't remember a specific syntax, most importantly flags, I can type this command, and I use it all the time. And if I just don't fumble around in internet searching for it, if I know that I will need the command later, I simply add it to pet and do it like that. The little snippet here that you've seen is actually adding a link. So when I'm in my browser, I have a special setup involving AutoKey. I'll make a separate video about it because it's really cool. And then I can interact with my browser, in my case Firefox, and I can copy a link, and then I can type plink, and it essentially grabs the link from the clipboard and adds it to pet. So that's pet command snippet. So we went through 10 commands, but I want to show you a few bonus commands that are really interesting. So first of all, one command that is cool is clipboard. So I have it aliased to C, and if you see clipboard, you can see that it essentially has various files and text inside of various clipboards. So 0 is a default clipboard, and those are named long-lived clipboards that hold various data. And why is it useful? Is because typically you would have to install like desktop clipboard manager, but this one is terminal-based clipboard manager. It has a lot of nice capabilities, but the whole idea behind it is that you can have history of what you've pasted, copied and pasted, and then you can essentially find this in history. You can replace current clipboard, you can interact with scripts and so on. So it has a lot to offer, and if you work with terminal, it's a little bit similar to Vim or NeoVim registries. So you can think about it like that. It's very useful. I use it all the time. I have even the shortest the shortest alias for it, just letter C. Atuin, I think I misspelled it. Atuin. I'm sorry, I forgot how to spell it, but this Atuin is a tool that integrates with your history, and it allows you to store history in SQLite database and optionally synchronize it between various machines. So for me, it's useful because I have a few machines with Pop! OS, and I can synchronize my history with them. So if you want to synchronize history and have a little bit better search experience, this is definitely something interesting. And finally, I mentioned at the very beginning fzf. fzf has various integrations, and one of those is integrating with tab autocompletion in bash or z shell. So typically, if you would say ls for files and you would hit tab, you would see kind of list of files with description. But when I do hit tab now, I'm getting a fzf-tab autocompletion where I can start typing, intro, whatever, and this would give me, an autocompletion. It doesn't replace autocompletion, but it displays it in a nicer way, and it makes it searchable with fuzzy finding. So that was it. That's all the commands that I wanted to show you. Please let me know what are your favorite commands for your specific workflow. I haven't talked about a few that I really like. As I mentioned, AutoKey is one of them. I didn't talk about Vim or Obsidian, various NeoVim plugins. When I talked about those things in separate videos, or they will become a separate videos. But I find terminal-based workflow to be really, really fast, really intuitive. It requires a little bit of learning, but once you get it done, you can specify it exactly as you want, and you can gather all the tools that will make your terminal experience really, really nice and interesting. All right, please let me know in the comments what tools you use and whether you found any tools presented here interesting. And yeah, thanks again, and see you in next video.